Hey, everybody, it's Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Avis Cherie, and I'm back. And I'm just going to start off with my most recent Food for Your Soul quote because in the process of me being away during my little hiatus, I would say, this quote is I'm getting ready to unpack something heavy on you that came to me when I was having a discussion about the quote, the most recent quote. Watch out for people who pretend to show up to work in your life, but don't really come to put in no work. Now, think about that. Listen, sometimes we get these quotes, we get these inspiration spurts, and it's just like, whoa, those sound like common words. Like, where'd this come from? But God shows each and every one of us the same thing differently. We can interpret the same word differently, or we can misinterpret it, the same word differently. So, listen, we was having a discussion about trying to get someone to see for themselves how your presence, your physical presence, doesn't mean that you're present. See, that's one of those things that you have the word, but you don't have the meaning. You're not acting out the meaning behind the word. And we're both interpreting what we're doing differently. When it comes to that quote, it's specifically about that. People can show up to go to work, but they show up for the check, but they don't really show up to do no work. Same thing with people coming into your life. They think that they're blessing you by the physical presence of them, but they ain't putting in no work. They ain't sowing in no seeds. They ain't cultivating or developing you. They ain't taking you to another level. In actuality, if they are unresolved with their matters to their hearts and their matters of whatever it is that they've come from, then they're burdening you, actually. You don't show up to work and expect to get paid if you're not putting no work in. And a lot of times in relationships and friendships, we come into that situation just saying that I am enough, but you got to put in work with that thing, especially if it's an uneven playing field or if it's unleveled. And a lot of people don't want to take acknowledgement of that because the other side of the field looks a little better anyway. So they're going to ease into it. And it may take years or months before you realize that they didn't come with the equipment or the tools to come to work in your life. They just came to show up like they putting in the work. And a lot of times it's more work working with someone like that. Just imagine you at your job and this person comes to work every day and has the same title and getting the same salary, if not even more. But you know you're doing all the work behind the scenes. You're doing your job, their job, and a lot of other jobs. And they're just showing up to be the face of what it is that they say they do. But they're not doing anything. So, or they're doing bare minimum. What do you do with things like that? It was a good, healthy conversation. It dropped in my spirit to reference a hospital. And say, for instance, you have this type of person in your life that just doesn't take ownership. But every person and relationship or things of their past, they have left toxins with disease that have afflicted others and left them on their sick bed. But yet you want to say you're still there. You're still there. But everybody around you is sick from some form or some fashion of something. Some things you had your hand in and some things you may not have had your hand in. But your trail has been sketchy. Your position in those relationships and situationships have been sketchy, questionable. And you were always just there. You were always there doing what you knew to be bare minimum. And you was ignoring the toxin and the disease that was being inflicted, that was left behind, the trauma. And so it's just like, oh, I'm a surgeon, but don't ask me to do no surgery. Or I'm a doctor, don't ask me to review no patient charts. Or I'm a mental health clinician, don't ask me to sit and do no therapy. I don't have no 45 minutes to talk to no client. But you know that in these places are people with broken pieces, broken areas of their life. As a doctor, you can't show up to a hospital and say you didn't see the sick people. But a lot of people in our lives are lying to themselves and would love for you to ingest the lie as well and say, oh, I didn't know you was going through that. Or I didn't know you needed help with this. Or I didn't know I could be of support to that. Or I didn't know that that meant that much to you. How could you not? Because that's been my life. How could you not? Because that's been my broken area. How could you not? What it is, people choose to not look because they showing up, but they ain't showing up to put in no work. Those type of people tend to always get the people that show up and show out for them. They get the people that'll roll up their sleeves and don't make no excuses of why they didn't like to do what they had to do for you, but they did it. And they don't throw it up in your face. They get down and get dirty with it. Your background, your history has been leaving people in their sick bed, on their dying bed, unresolved issues, going from thing to thing, place to place, person to person, situation to situationship. That's been your history. The other person's history may be through it, I travailed. Through all the trauma, through all the burdens, I still picked up, and I was a good sister, a good brother, a good husband, a good wife. I still chose to give the best pieces of me and not deposit upon you. And then even when I did deposit, I didn't act like I didn't see you was weak, or I didn't turn away and say, I'm showing up to work today, but I don't want to put in no work. We get in there and we dissect what's going on, and we bust it down the middle and make it happen. The part of the purpose is the analogy of the hospital is to take ownership and accountability for when you have your hand in making deposits of toxicity, when you have your hand of being ignorant, to choose to be ignorant to other people's and yield to other people's needs and desires and wants, because your need is to show up and just get paid. So and when we say somebody barely doing enough, imagine that doctor coming in with that high paid salary, them nice shoes, that nice sports car, pull up, loud music, top back, go into the hospital and just sit just as fine and debonair, and ain't putting no work. Ain't putting in no work. Just showing up sharp to the nines and ain't putting in no work at that hospital. What you can bet on every instance, is somebody going to take your position that wants to be there. Somebody's going to take your position that can do that job very well. Somebody's going to take your position and make it be like you wasn't even here. You never existed. Somebody's going to take your position without even competition, because you're not in the running, because you never showed up for work to put in no work. And when somebody else does, it's like you never existed. You never had a chance, and you ain't even in the running, and you never was qualified, and you're not even qualified to re-enter the race. So if that's where people place themselves in your life, they act like they want to show up to work in your life, actually just showing up and ain't got no intentions of doing no work, they'll place themselves in a desolate place, in an isolated position, where someone who wants to be there is going to be there. And it won't take anything to just X the other one out. They ostracize themselves with no effort. They ostracize themselves without the will and the desire to do more than just show up and look to par for the position when they ain't qualified. All right. Hope you understood where I was coming from with this. Pay close attention. You can tell me one thing, but your actions show another. All right. Until next time, get ready, get ready, get ready. The launch coming. God's love and God's peace to you all. Ava Sheree.